is going on, everybody? We are back. Tornado Tag, not podcast. Tornado Tag. This
podcast,
is the first.
2015.
Yeah,
Who does podcasts anymore?
What jabronis do podcasts anymore? We do. We're back. If you're I'm gonna kind of do this in the beginning because people are like, "What? I don't get what's going on." So we used to do the Tornado Tag podcast. We haven't done an episode in a year,
something like that. Yeah.
Maybe longer. We brought back Tornado Tag, but as a playlist under my new channel, under my new podcast, the ABJ podcast. We did Not Cool in High School, Not Cool in High School Horror, Tornado Tag, Banging Beers, Truth Behind Illusion. Essentially, all of them are coming back starting 2024, except Truth Behind Illusion. If you want to do a paranormal episode or talk paranormal, that could just be ABJ podcast. Come and talk spooky stuff. I'm down. I'll do it. But the Tornado Tag podcast stuff just recently, like middle of towards the end of 2023, exploded on the audio platforms in Sweden. So everyone listening in Sweden,
it's Sweden.
Thank you. We love you. I love your fish, the candies. They're great. So thank you guys so much for showing us love and support. I thought to myself, well, how can we do this? So we're going to put this episode on the old Tornado Tag audio platform, then also in Swedish. We're going to speak nothing in Swedish. I don't even know how to, never mind. But we're going to also, this is now going to be the audio side of things will be also on the ABJ podcast. So the ABJ podcast will be numbered by podcast episode. So like interview with this person numbered the whole 9. If you see ABJP, that's the acronym, and then it'll say Tornado Tag, the title of the episode. All of these now will be audio on the podcast platform, as well as you can watch them on the YouTube channel, where it is live currently Thursday nights, 8:30 going forward. 8:30, 8:45-ish will be there every Thursday. There may be some days where maybe we move it to a Friday or we're off a Thursday because stuff happens on Thursdays, like fights in bars and stuff like that. So we will be there.
Not wrestling though. Wrestling never happens on Thursday.
No wrestling in bars unless we're watching it on TV completely legally. Yes. But there might be nights where we take the night off. If that comes, maybe we'll do it on a Friday or something like that. Also, if you're listening to the Tornado Tag podcast on this platform and you miss us so much that you want to keep watching, we do have back episodes that were not audio only. If you want to go back and check some of them out that we started on the YouTube side of things, we're not going to re-release those on audio. If you want to go watch them on YouTube, they're there. But from now going forward, this will be audio and video. And we're going to start it off with one of our popular episodes and the ones I have the most fun doing, and that's our end of the year TT awards. The TT awards are, we go through, this is going to be mostly mainstream. We used to do indie and stuff. We may throw some indie people in there just to kind of break up some conversation throughout the episode, but yeah, we're gonna have some fun. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Make sure you hit those likes buttons. Let's get the likes. We'll set a goal or whatever. Maybe the goal will be 10 for our first episode back. If we get 10 thumbs ups, that'd be cool. Make sure you share this out. Tell your friends, tell your bosses, tell a wrestler, tell your girlfriend. BP will steal her. That's just how he rolls. See, that's what he does. If you have a girlfriend, she's dead meat. BP's gonna take her. You can see us doing commentary at places like the Sanctuary. We'll be doing commentary this Saturday at the last ever appearance of our event at the legendary Hamburg Fieldhouse. How crazy is that our voice is gonna be the last ones to call a wrestling match there?
They've gone from Vince McMahon and Pat Patterson to us. No
I think it's
not doing wrestling there anymore.
I think it's an upgrade. I think we're gonna kill it.
Shots fired at Pat Patterson. Damn.
Yeah, Pat Patterson. All right, Vince. He turned out to be a little weird. That Vince guy did some weird things.
Yeah.
Allegedly,
a weird guy in wrestling.
All right. Well, let's get straight into it. Before we get into it, BP, overall 2023 wrestling, the landscape of wrestling. How did it sit with you? Were you good with it, bad with it, high, lows?
I think I'm going into 24 with a sense of optimism. There's just so much, and I think I've said this in past years, and it's been a consistent climb now for a few years, but there's so much good stuff out there, and there's so much different stuff. And wrestling has never been as accessible as it is now, and is with such great variety. You literally have access to Mexican wrestling, Japanese wrestling, Joshi, Japanese women's wrestling, deathmatch wrestling, you name it. There is a brand of if you like wrestling even a little bit, there is a brand of wrestling out there for you, and it's pretty accessible and it's pretty affordable. I think the biggest expense you're going to run into is if you buy a bunch of AEW pay-per-views and then if you're going to a lot of shows. But
yeah,
like there has never been a moment like there is now where there is so much good wrestling so readily available. It makes me think back to like when I was a kid and you would just go to the video store. Like that was the WWE Network before the WWE Network. If you had a video store that had wrestling tapes, and I would clear them out. Like if there's any video store I ever went to, I rented every wrestling tape they had, and now it's all on Peacock.
Yeah,
and it's just amazing just how good we have it now. How good we have it as wrestling fans is insane.
Well, I know it's not a category. We have disappointment of the year, but we don't have one of our favorite moments, I guess. We have moments in general, but maybe not our favorite. But like overall, like I know, we play our bingo cards every year. We definitely had Vince McMahon was going to sell the company and then get ran out of his own company. That was definitely we seen that coming a mile away, right?
Oh yeah, of course. Well, I mean, it was a roller coaster. There, it was like, I think it was around this time last year, maybe a little deeper into the beginning of 2023, where it's like, oh no, they're going to sell to the Saudis, and it's like, oh, is WWE something I want to support? Yeah. And no, now it's Endeavor. They've got their flywheel going. They've got Ari, and Vince is still very much involved. But my impression is that Ari's whole thing is that he doesn't want the executives and the creative people to kind of cross the streams, where we're so used to Vince being like, I have to be in control of every aspect of my company, where Ari is going to say, okay, the creative people are going to do creative stuff, the business people are going to do the business stuff, and that's why Triple H is running creative, and that's why he's not on the chair, or he's not on the board of directors anymore. So
yeah, and it's crazy. WWE went from the big heels, and AEW were the big faces. Then they swapped, and then they kicked Vince out, and everyone's like, Vince, WWE's always been the best place of all time. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy to see the fans flip flopping a lot. I hate this guy. He's a cancer. We should get rid of him. He shouldn't be in the business. And then his music hits Chicago, and everyone's like, we love him. Welcome back, baby.
I always loved him. I always
loved him too. Yeah, we had backstage fights. We've had drama.
Yeah, wrestling was fun again in 2023.
Yeah, it was great. Wrestling went international this year, and it looks like that's going to be the path going forward, where companies are going to Australia and Germany and UK. France. What a great time to be a wrestling fan.
And I love that, especially because those international shows, because they don't get them all the time, they're not spoiled like a lot of American wrestling fans and even Canadian wrestling fans are. Those crowds show up big, and I love it. I love those international shows. Not the biggest fan of like, Australia, it's going to be at like 2 a.m. Not the biggest fan of that, but
why can't they just do it for our normal time? You know what I mean? Like we run the world.
Everybody come to the stadium at 1:30 a.m. for your wrestling.
So Americans don't have to inconvenience themselves to watch your stupid country's time zone. You know what I mean? Sorry, I love you, Australia. I wouldn't have went to London if it wasn't for an Australian, so I love that guy. Great country. It's a beautiful country. Never.
We're going to do an entire episode about World Wrestling All-Stars and Rove McManus.
Yes. But well, let's get straight into it right away. First up, if you're in the chat, I'm not going to go through and read all the chats like I normally would on my live streams, because this is audio only and I don't want to take too much away. But when we start talking about our picks, we will acknowledge the chat's picks and what you guys think as well, and incorporate you guys. So please be patient. I'm not ignoring you in the chats, but it's kind of like the podcast side of things. When I'm doing a podcast, I'm doing an interview, I'm not going to interact too much with the chat unless I call for it. So you guys can talk amongst each other and have conversations and hang out. You guys are very, very good at that, but not so much like the live stream when I'm watching Raw and SmackDown. And if you want to come watch Raw and SmackDown with me, I do that every time on every day it's on too. So come hang out. So it's a little different here for these podcast style these deals, but I will engage with you guys. I promise I'm not ignoring you all. All right. So let's go right into it with the 2023 TT Award for Best Non-Wrestler. Best Non-Wrestler, BP.
Oh, easy. This is a runaway.
Yeah.
It's Roman Reigns.
Yeah, acknowledge
it's
him.
Clearly Roman Reigns.
Yeah, next award, right? Yeah, Roman Reigns barely wrestled. You know what I mean? Best non-wrestler goes to the best merch sales. Roman Reigns.
Highest paid, best merch. Occasionally defends the title.
Yeah. Cheats to win it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, that was a good bit. So let's actually get into our picks. So I have 3 written down. I think you have a couple written down. Let's work backwards. Let's not bury the lead and say our number 1 pick, but we can kind of debate amongst the.
He's not gonna be my pick, but and he's finally getting his due, and I love that he's finally getting his due. But I gotta throw a bone to Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce is what I think an authority figure should be in wrestling right now. It's not that over-the-top heel owner, because Vince McMahon was so successful in that role that everybody had to have a heel general manager. And now you have Adam Pearce, who's believable. He knows he can do comedy when the situation warrants it. He can be serious when the situation warrants it. Great. He does such a great job.
That's a good pick. Well, someone in the chat already says Samantha Irvin got the snub. She didn't from the ABJ. That's one of my picks. Wonderful. Samantha Irvin is the best ring announcer since Howard Finkel. Like, she is going to be legendary. I mean, Justin Roberts on AEW is fantastic as well, but she has a great voice. Like, you'd actually know who's just as good, and they're in the same company but 2 different brands. I don't know her name, so I apologize. But the girl in NXT, she's fantastic too.
I need to get back into NXT.
Yeah, listen, I just started watching it again. It's not bad. First time I ever watched one of these matches. Have you watched one of these
Iron
penalty
Survivor
box matches? Dude, they're fun. They're fun.
It seems cool, but I am always wary of any match besides maybe War Games where it takes longer than, say, 20 seconds to explain the rules.
I feel that. The only bit I was going to have an issue with, and I was kind of talking about in the live stream, is like you eat a finisher and then you take the pin and then you just, like in the video game when you roll out and you just walk away. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't sell the finisher at all because you got to get to the
Smoky Mountain Wrestling, promoted by a gentleman who shall remain nameless. They did, because they had the Thrill Seekers. They had Chris Jericho and Lance Storm.
Yeah.
And their specialty match there, I think they only did it once or twice, was a penalty box match, where if you got caught cheating, you'll be put in the penalty box. So, and then King of the Mountain had like a very similar thing in TNA. But as far as others that might not be my pick, this is kind of the go-to pick, and he's always incredible. Paul Heyman. I think
you stole my number 2. We're both sitting at Paul Heyman.
It's always Paul Heyman. He's always up there.
He's essentially been carrying this feud since Mania, when the feud should have died and ended and nobody cared about it no more. And the only reason it's staying relevant is because of Paul Heyman.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons it's so easy for Roman Reigns to be more of a recurring character than a weekly character, because you have Paul Heyman there just to be the anchor, or not the anchor, but to be the steady force.
Yeah. And I think we're both pretty firm on number 1.
Oh yeah.
I'll say my pick, and I know you're going to agree with me. We swerve when we drive. You know, you don't even drive, BP.
Well, that's why I swerve, because I'm not.
You still swerve. You know what I mean? Prince Nana just killing it. I mean, this is the most contagious thing in professional wrestling. The guy is a gem.
Yeah. It's been a good year for the Embassy. Even Jade Chung is back in TNA. It's a good year for the Embassy. It's a good year for Prince Nana.
And also, the layer they just threw on the Embassy, where it's kind of like the Devil's Adam Cole in the Kingdom. Like that's who and then they're like, is it the Mogul Embassy? And we're like, I don't hate that idea.
And because everybody's itching. I not everybody, but I'm count me in this group. If I'm looking at guys, if you're taking that title off of MJF, who I would want to be the guy, Swerve's at the top of that list.
Yeah, Swerve. Dude, I kind of fantasy booked this, and I'll run it by you, because I think I'm kind of talking in the car on the way here. I was like, listen, I've been in a lot of locker rooms, I've been in a lot of promotions, but when I sit and talk wrestling with somebody, I don't care who you are or what you've done. You are one of my favorite minds of this business. Just as a fan, you have an understanding. What you say makes sense, and I genuinely cherish that. You know what I mean? So I think MJF drops it. soon. Probably,
Yeah.
I would say he drops it this next pay-per-view, next show.
Especially if that injury is legitimate, yeah.
Well, not just the injury. He's going around telling everybody that he's not signed in 2024 and he's still rolling with that angle. So does he do this whole I get beat up and I'm not signed and where am I going to show up and kind of play the crowd a little bit? But while he's doing that, I think Swerve is that guy who can take the title and roll with it. And then when you get back to London and All In, Swerve versus Ospreay, and he comes out and says my house, and Swerve and Ospreay goes whose house, and then everyone, you know what I mean? Like,
that's pretty good.
I want that matchup. I want Swerve versus Ospreay in London.
That is a quality main event. Mm-hmm. That is a quality main event for All In London too.
Because dude, London, when Swerve came out, I was like, yo, he's good. But I don't think people are catching on to it. Like, I still didn't buy into it. I just thought, like, okay, a few diehards are into him. And then when I went to London and he says I just watched Saraya do We Are the Champion and everyone was like into it. And then it died off. And then Swerve came out and did his thing. And that place went bananas for Swerve. I'm like, wow, he has them. He has he's so good. So good. But yeah, so Prince Nana for the win. When I first seen him, I was like, yo, who's this Julius Smokes wannabe? And he won my heart. Like, I was like, yo, he's just, but that's the thing. I cherish Julius Smokes as such a entertaining person ringside.
Completely different stable. Completely different Ring of Honor stable.
That's exactly. But they're both goats. Like, they're both fantastic. They're very incredible. If I'm comparing you to Julius Smokes, you mean something to me. You know what I mean? Because I love me some Julius Smokes.
Also, the thing they always remember with Nana, shoot Prince.
Is he really?
Yes.
Wow. Good for him. Yeah, so everyone's in the chat is doing their picks of the devil. I agree. I think it's Cole, but if it's Swerve, I would not hate it.
Man, I don't care anymore. It's gone on so long. I just want it to be over.
Yeah, it has to come to a head very soon. I think they're feeling the same thing. I think just after this week, the first promo fell so flat, and then the Hangman jumping fell flat, and then the saying it Swerve it piqued people's ears up again.
Yeah,
and now we're going into the winner of the gold bracket is a triple threat. Like, we still don't know what this tournament does. Like, does it guarantee you a title shot?
Well, it's for. There's that whole new title, the Continental title.
Yeah, but is that like the Owen Hart Classic where you just win the tournament that year and then
it's going to be for that, the New Japan Strong title, and the Ring of Honor title. It's going to be their triple crown.
Interesting. I don't know. I hope it guarantees you a title shot. That's all I want.
It's going to be its own champion. But then again, that's like kind of the last thing AEW needs.
That's what I'm saying. Title. Like, that's why it should be like the Owen Hart Cup. You won a title, but it's not something you defend. It's every year you're the last Owen Hart champion. And then next year, a new champion's crowned. Like, I think if you win the tournament, you're the Triple Crown tournament that year, and next year somebody else gets it.
I think the idea is with this this Triple Crown, it's going to be a title that's defended across AEW, Ring of Honor, and New Japan.
Yeah. All right. It's cool. But I think a title shot should be in order. And too much.
And round robins are fine, but it's also like it's a little convoluted. Again, simple. Wrestling should be very simple.
Keep it simple so your crowd can follow along. All right. Let's go into the most underrated superstar of 2023. I have a few. I kind of went hard in the paint on this one, BP. I'll start off line here. But the only female on my list who I think is incredibly underrated, and she proved to me again why she is insanely underrated and how she should be booked more, and she's just so goddamn entertaining. Thea Hale. My God, is she good? She can wrestle. Her facial expressions are fantastic. I know you don't watch NXT, but the new angle, the new angle she's doing, like, she's still like the bubbly, like you, and she's like excited, but now she's trying to act goth and sexy with JC Jade. So she comes out and she's like she's like mimicking her, like trying to do, and then halfway through her wrestling match, she gets excited and starts being goofy again, but then she tries to be sexy. Like, she's literally the Peyton Royce that we miss, but she's still here. You know what I mean? Like,
I miss the iconics
Billy Kay. She's like Billy Kay
every day. That's high praise for me. I love Billy Kay. Billy Kay was incredible.
She to me is the new Billy Kay, and I love her so goddamn much. So good.
Now, is this kind of lumped in with most improved, or is that gonna be a separate category?
That's its own category. This is
I
underrated.
I have a lot for that. As far as underrated, they were doing a great job with him until he became a comedy guy again. But Chad Gable's like the perennial most underrated for me.
Yeah.
And pretty much everybody in Ring of Honor, pretty much everybody in Ring of Honor, just because if you have great matches in a forest and no one's around to watch them, do they actually exist?
And they're putting on some bangers on those Ring of Honor shows.
Like Athena is one of the best women in the world, and you never see her.
Yeah,
I have Honor Club.
I have Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta on this list for most underrated because I like Garcia is starting to win people over, and I think the way they're doing it is good. Also on the list, he's probably my crossover from independent to mainstream. Speedball Mike Bailey.
Yeah,
like he is showing time in and time out. No matter where you put him, just put him anywhere and let him perform. He should be talked about more. And like the way people talk about Ospreay, they should be talking about Speedball Mike Bailey.
I think TNA, at least for me, runs into the same Impact. It will be TNA soon enough. It runs into the same issues as Ring of Honor, where unless it's accessible to you, you can't really. You can do a lot of great things, but it's hard. It's hard to really gain your foothold when Access TV
is not accessible.
And maybe that's just my bias and my personal thing of I don't get it, so I'm like, oh, nobody can see it because I can't. That's a little hypocritical.
For $5 a month on YouTube, you don't even need a stream a television program. $5 YouTube. There's a $1 subscription and a $5 subscription. The $5 subscription gets you their 4 major pay-per-views and all of their back content. They have playlists of like the history of this feud, and then of a weekly. It happens weekly. It's live on YouTube, but then also it airs like on demand whenever you want to go watch it on YouTube for Impact. It's worth the $5, in my opinion. I think their roster is worth your $5. I think what they're doing is worth $5. You're coming into a brand new company, brand new rebrand, brand new everything. Now is probably the time, if you want to get back at Impact Wrestling, is the time to do it because you can join in on a fresh page and get back into that.
They certainly seem to be making moves, and there's a whole crop of guys who have recently had their 90 days come up, and I don't know who AEW is going to get. They're not going to get everybody. But if AEW decides to skip out on, say, a Mustafa Ali
or a Ziggler, imagine Ziggler in a. I think Ziggler's going to AEW.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Ali is too. But then again, Ali has lined up a lot of big indie dates all over the world, and Mustafa Ali in Impact. That's another big reason to watch Impact right there. That is a top tier talent, and they have a lot of guys in that.
Speedball Mike Bailey, Chris Bay, Ace Austin, Masa Slamovich, Gia Miller, roll the credits. That's all you need.
There you go. Yeah.
Let me, as we say this, Mustafa Ali for Prestige Wrestling, Vermont, Hollywood, Los Angeles, California, February 25th. Mustafa Ali versus
Speedball Mike
Bailey.
Yep.
Just announced just now because all the people are now officially allowed to say where they're allowed to work, and there's your first announcement. Speedball Mike Bailey will
speaking of underrated guys, Mustafa Ali, again, perennially underrated.
Dude, Mike Bailey just worked Swerve Strickland at House of Glory, and when I was doing research on what people thought the best matches of the year were, TN Impact's match between Ospreay and Speedball Mike Bailey was in the top 10. Like,
of course, they're incredible. So they're both incredible.
But I will agree with you with your pick. We can meet in the middle here. For me, Chad Gable. Gable is the overall for the year on mainstream wrestling.
And it was definitely at that point where it looked like they were going to have him be the guy to throw Gunther, and maybe that is the way they go, but it looks like they're not in any hurry to take that title off of Gunther, which is fine. Because I think he's only got to have it for a little bit to just become the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion ever, no matter how many times he's had the title. He'll do it in one reign.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into a little bit of storytelling. Some companies don't have storytelling, is what we've been told on the internet, because somehow AEW doesn't have stories.
I think right now the big problem with AEW is they have story.
story.
They only really have one.
I disagree. I think there's a lot going on there. I just think if you're not into the product, you're not going to find I think there's a lot there. Anyway,
I think it's the MJF stuff and then everything else right now.
Yeah, so I mean, the MJF thing is really good. Like, it's just good. I like it. The devil thing needs to end soon, but I
thought the stuff with Cole early in the year was fun, but right now it's
yeah.
They're not doing
they gotta wrap up the devil stuff soon because it can get stale if it keeps going. But storyline of the year, you can start this one off.
I have a few. I have MJF and Adam Cole. I think that was an incredible storyline. Drew the biggest house of the year, drew the biggest crowd of the year. Can't say enough about both of those guys. And that's when it was more fun. And it's really been a thing where if it didn't taper off into this devil stuff and into too much comedy, I think it would be my runaway winner. But it got a little too comedic. I love MJF. MJF will be in discussion for a lot of things later.
Yeah,
and it's funny that I'm saying this, but I think
you hated him at first. We used to argue about this. I was like, BP,
but he's kind of lost his edge. That was always the risk of turning him babyface, and the way to turn him babyface was to have him be MJF, but to the heels, and they haven't really done that.
I disagree. Dude, the last show, he's like, all right, you want to put away, like, you want to put this away? You want to accuse me? Let's fight, right? Like, he just got in Joe's face.
He's a babyface. He's not gonna. Yeah, babyfaces don't run away. Babyfaces don't hide.
And I mean, and even when his promo with Swerve Strickland backstage was beautiful, where Swerve's like Demolition Man in him and super intimidating. He's like, oh, great monologue, my guy. Like,
everything he does is good.
Yeah,
it's just that they're not doing him a lot of favors with the way they're presenting him. And part of it is, like, he used to be the guy that was allowed to say all the things that nobody else could say.
Yeah.
And now that guy is somebody else. Now that guy is Christian Cage.
Well, that's my number list, the storyline of the year. And I didn't write a specific one. I wrote Christian Cage versus everybody.
Christian Cage versus Orphans.
Yeah. Christian Cage versus Orphans has been the story of... I hated Christian. The first one that started with the Jungle Boy, and I was like, I am over this. Stop. And it's won me. Dude, he's good. Yeah, he's killing it.
People are finally recognizing how good he is. And I've always been, and I've been in the minority. I've always preferred him to Edge, to Adam Cole. I've always preferred Christian. But yeah, he's really coming to his own as a character this year. I think a few for me. I don't think anybody has quite the chemistry. Maybe MJF and Cole. They do have incredible chemistry. I don't know if any tandem has the chemistry of Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio. They're so good.
So good.
So good, and they've elevated both of them. Yeah. That pairing has elevated both of them to the next level. And this one, I think it suffers from having really been exclusively in the very beginning of the year, and it's kind of a little out of sight, out of mind now. And the way they kind of dropped the ball on this guy has really made it a shame, because this was pretty well done. But Sami Zayn against the Bloodline.
That's my number one. Sami Zayn Bloodline story.
Number one. Yeah.
Number one. It was listen, I think MJF Adam Cole is a number 2, and I think it's amazing, and I'm obsessed with it. I own too many Better Than You Bebe t-shirts. It took my favorite wrestler on the planet right now and put him with a guy who I thought was really entertaining, and they won me over in every way, shape, or form. But it's hard to say that Sami Zayn did not win 2023, where people were clamoring for him to be the main event of WrestleMania. And it was never going to happen. And if you were a smart fan, you knew it was never going to happen. But Sami and the Bloodline, awesome. And now he's open. Now he's not even, he's like pre-shows.
Well, now he's taking time off. But yeah, it did cool off. They did cool him off very quickly, which is a shame. And I think they did use him to try to elevate other people and to try to cement Drew's heel turn. And I get all that, but you got to remember, like, people were saying, maybe we don't, because this is back when everybody thought that Cody was winning the title at Mania. It was like, should we not pull the trigger on that? Because Sammy's really over right now.
Let's just dive into this. Okay. The greatest disappointment of the year. You kind of just said it. Cody loses at Mania. That's got to be on the list, right?
I think for me, it was The last hour of Mania, because
second day.
No, because the second day we'll talk about a match of the year, but there was a point at that second day of a second night of Mania where I'm like, they will really have to fumble the ball at the 1 yard line for this to not be an all-time great Mania. And
and
then Shane McMahon came out, and it was all downhill from there. It was all downhill from there.
Yeah, Shane McMahon was the catalyst.
For Shane McMahon.
Yikes! I forgot about that.
Then you have that, and I want to call it disappointing because they worked really hard, but you had the Hell in a Cell with Edge and Brood Edge, and Finn Balor, wrong guy won, and then you had Roman and Cody, wrong guy won, and it's like, oh wow, this is
they tanked it.
It's blowing up in the third act, as they say in screenwriting.
Cody Mania for me is number one. Are you throwing in Shane? No.
I'm just saying that's when it's like what is going on here?
Yeah. What's another pick for you for disappointment of the
year? I think and I understand like they have their fans, but I think they kind of the lack of growth and the lack of direction for AEW has kind of been a disappointment for me. And if you like it, more power to you, but it's a struggle to get through that show sometimes for me now. Like I have never been less excited about AEW than I am now.
Really? See, I'm the opposite now. It's hard for me to get through. I mean, Raw and SmackDown has been getting better because they are utilizing different talent and it's becoming a little better. But I don't have an issue with with Dynamite. I'm into it. For me, just kind of disappointment. This may be just of a personal one. I doubt you'll pick it. But Adam Cole getting injured.
Yeah,
I think that derailed MJF.
People jumping off ramps.
He's the worst. He's the worst luck in professional wrestling. Every storyline that his clear payoff is this. Yeah. This guy gets injured or has to be removed from his story, and then he has to pick it up and find something new. And because of he's so creative and they let him find those things, he's picking up and finding something better, and he's doing great with it. But man, this guy has the short end of the stick all year with storylines. The Punk storyline, this storyline, the Adam Cole getting hurt. It's like, man, this guy can't catch a break.
No joke. If I was Tony Khan, I would say the next person that jumps off the ramp is getting fired. I don't care who you are. I don't care if it's Jericho. I don't care if it's MJF. I don't care if it's Ric Flair. Actually, it would be pretty funny if Ric Flair jumped off the ramp. But the next person
Flair elbow drop.
The next person jumps off the ramp is fired because that's how Punk broke his foot. That's how Adam Cole broke his foot, jumping off the damn ramp.
Yep.
Don't jump off ramps, people. That's the moral of the story.
What's your probably your number one disappointment of the year?
For me, here's one, just because it's gone from super hot to kind of an afterthought in the grand scheme of things. New Japan. New Japan is just because, and it's not their fault. Like they lost a lot of the guys that were putting eyeballs on it. They lost Kenny, they lost the Bucks, they lost Nakamura. They might be losing Okada, Will Ospreay, and I'm sure like AEW does come back and forth. Ibushi. I mean, I don't want to call somebody just kind of hitting the wall and losing a lot of their talent due to injury and just the toll of time, but Ibushi is not the Kota Ibushi of old.
I'm gonna be honest. You guys been talking a lot about these Japan guys and how you're excited for them, and I think some of these Forbidden Doors show a different side of what I think some of these. Now you guys been watching them, a lot of them in their pride and their prime and stuff, and I'm kind of seeing them later on. And some of these guys that like, I still haven't seen a Rainmaker match in a Forbidden Door or in an AEW spotlight where I think he looks like one of the greatest wrestlers that's ever existed.
Okada's a strange one because Okada's strength as a wrestler is making the other guy look good.
Okay.
And the only real match he had this year was with Danielson, and I first of all, I love that match. It
was good, but I don't think it was like the match.
I'm gonna be in the minority, but I preferred that to the Omega Ospreay match that night. I'm in a big minority there, but it's my flavor of wrestling, and also Bryan Danielson broke his arm during the match. This was a good year. Unfortunately, this was a good year for people wrestling great matches with a broken arm. But it seems like all the buzz that even like that underground buzz that New Japan used to have. Now that's Stardom. Stardom has that buzz.
Stardom is, everyone's loving Stardom. Kai in our chat, most of his picks when I put him in the Discord have all been Stardom picks. Like he loves Stardom. Stardom to me is still in that category where it's like it's a 2-degree separation between professional wrestling and kink porn. You know what I mean? Like it's still
good wrestling though. It
creeps me out.
Wrestling.
Yeah.
And if WWE does wind up signing Julia, I'm not too up with Stardom, but she's gonna be a star.
Yeah.
You could there's some people you look at them and like they're gonna be a star.
So my biggest disappointment of the year, and I'm gonna try to swerve you into being this is the pick, but the loss of Jay Briscoe and Bray Wyatt this year.
That's a little heavy, I think.
It's a huge disappointment. Two guys.
It's awful. Yeah.
Who, if we look at the landscape of wrestling now, we're like, man, what could have been? You know what I mean?
You can say that about any year. Those two are particularly bad just because they were so young.
Yeah.
That's worse than having a bad end to WrestleMania. That's worse than me not liking AEW. It's the worst thing that happened in wrestling this year. If that's the way you want to go with it, yeah, it's the worst thing that happened all year, and it's not close. It's worse than an injury. It's worse than a show not being like ending the way we wanted to. It's worse than anything like that. But that's I think that kind of supersedes disappointment. That's just sad.
Yeah, that sucks.
But nothing worse than that. But for me, I think kind of that last hour of Mania, if we're going to be a little more lighthearted about it, that would be my vote.
So you just want to stick with Cody Mania?
That's up to you. That's up to you. But I think it's a little. I think it's that goes beyond professional wrestling. I
agree. I wasn't well, Terry Funk we did lose as well, but Terry Funk, Father Time took Terry Funk. Terry
Funk is the definition of he won at life. I mean the ending, unfortunately, his wife passed and he was never really the same after that. But yeah, Terry Funk had a great life.
One guy was taken from a car accident, and one was taken from health injuries. You know, I mean, just it's crazy. Agreed. It's tough. And I wasn't a big Bray character fan. I did not like the character that Bray Wyatt, but as a human being, he was a great human. He helped out a lot of people. He was good for the business. He was good for people as a friend. You know, it sucks. You don't want to. No one should lose their livelihood or their life that young, and that sucks. But all right, our next category, TT of the year. We're gonna go for the moment of the year. I'll start us off with Endeavor buys the WWE and then removes Vince McMahon from everything.
Well, that is certainly the most eventful thing that happened this year.
And it's not even my number one.
I think it's a little heavy-handed to say like Vince is exiled.
He's exiled.
Vince is in the boardroom now. Yeah,
but they literally said, because you have shares, we know that your stock is like you're ruining us, so we need you to go away.
He's still very much involved in the day-to-day, I think. Ooh. Just not in creative. I think we're conflating creative with the overall business.
Yeah. But he's never going to be in charge again, which is
no. Yeah. I mean, that is as eventful as it gets. That 2023 is the year that the person who has the final say on all things WWE's last name is not McMahon. That is as huge news as it gets.
Yep.
That's as huge as it gets as far as news.
What about you? What about another moment of the year?
Mine were a little more match driven, I think. And it happened at not Crown Jewel, but the other Saudi show. It was Night of Champions. I think just that this kind of ties in with the storyline of the year. When Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, this might be a preview for one of my match of the year picks, beating Roman and Solo, and just the end shot of Sami Zayn standing triumphant on the second rope, looking down on Roman Reigns, just sitting. First match he's lost of any kind in a year and a half, and that was just chef's kiss as far as that is how you book a babyface triumphant. Dude, without putting a title on him.
I'll say this right now, and you just flooded my memory. I will definitely say I did not have that on my list, and I don't hate it at all. But when Sami Zayn hits the ramp, and he's in a country that, by all intents and purposes,
they wouldn't let him on the show.
Would kill him for his religious beliefs, and they're
Well,
singing his song.
Not even his religious beliefs, just where his family's from.
Where his blood, it will be where his blood was born. You know what I mean? Like
he's Syrian, yeah.
And they're singing his song.
Yeah. Well, it's always key to remember that the people in power are different than the people, and that's very.
And the power of the power of this business.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's a good fucking moment, dude. When he came out in the ramp, and you just seen that emotion of he's in essentially enemy territory, but he's not, because he's under the banner of professional wrestling, and it doesn't matter what your blood is and where you're from. You're an entertainer and you're a part of the WWE, and they're singing your song.
And Sami Zayn, and this year really showed it. Sami Zayn, and this year 100% showed it. He has become one of those guys, and there's not a lot of them. Bryan Danielson's one of these guys. Mick Foley was one of these guys. Whether they're babyface, whether they're heel, deep down, the audience just loves him as a person. They've decided we personally just like this guy.
Yep.
But another Sammy moment is Royal Rumble, hitting Roman Reigns with a chair, breaking away from the bloodline. That was huge. But I think my pick has got to be the end of Survivor Series. CM Punk showing up in WWE.
CM Punk returns. That's number one.
That's got to be it.
Edge, Adam Copeland to AEW was cool. But CM Punk.
Now when I say like
to WWE,
when I say like, I know this isn't a word, but when I was saying like AEW is a disappointment for me, like I think if we were to do like a worst segment of the year, I think it would be that segment where they're teasing Luchasaurus is going babyface, like Christian's really talking down to Luchasaurus, and Adam Copeland gives Nick Wayne the concerto. I hated that segment. I was like, I'm done with it. I think I'm gonna finish. I don't think I need to watch the rest of the show. They did 6 months worth of booking, maybe 9 months worth of booking in 15 minutes. Yeah. It's like, what are they doing? What are they doing?
Well, the only thing I have high hopes for when it comes to Nick Wayne, because I do have high hopes for that kid.
He's got all the potential in the world.
Did you see the trademark?
Yeah, the East West Express, yeah.
East West Express trademark. So like if it's a point where Nick Wayne needs a friend, and if it's Jordan fucking Oliver, sign me up.
Yeah.
Can you talk, because here's the thing. If they get signed in 2024, that we are talking possibly a tag team of the year next year.
Yeah, you're talking about potentially a tag team of the decade.
Those two tag teams where there's no Marty and Sean. There's two Seans. You know what I'm saying? Like crazy.
Yeah, if pushed correctly, you're talking about like a Rock and Roll Express level babyface tag team.
They gave up on the trademark, it said. Interesting.
It could be.
If they gave them
the work with a different name.
Yeah, that's the thing. Even if they gave them the trademark, the fact they tried shows they have interest.
Yeah.
In Jordan, which is good
for a kid like Jordan Oliver. Whenever I see him, whenever I like,
he's so humble. Humble.
He seems like a guy where it's a when, not if.
Yeah. And here's the truth. He doesn't see it. Well, he has so much self-doubt. He's like, what? Like I'm not trying to tip anything out. Like this dude gets sick before he goes to the ring because his anxiety is so high because he doesn't understand how much people love and respect and think how good he is. He doesn't see it.
He's incredibly humble. He never stops trying to learn. 2020. I've had some interactions with him this year that I don't want to go too like inside baseball on, but I have developed so much. I already thought that guy had all the potential in the world, and I think it's tenfold from what I thought it was before.
Agreed. All right. Most improved of 2023. And you said you have a big list. I have a little bit of a list.
Wait, what won that? Did we crown a winner? Is it Sami Zayn? Or is it... it's Punk. It's CM Punk. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to start off with someone who doesn't need improvement. I think they're one of the best wrestlers in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to what they were put in, it was stale. And they did something that's so out of the ordinary. And it became so good and it breathed new life, almost like a Jericho moment where Jericho starts to teeter and then Jericho hits with something and Jericho knows he hit.
When was the last time that happened?
A while, but but this person has done it in that exact fashion and did it being a complete fucking goofball. And it's the best. It is the most exciting time for me on television. And that is BP, chin up, tits out,
and
watch for the shoe. Toni Storm is on my list. Not my winner, not my clear winner, but is on the most improved list of 2023.
She was almost my winner.
Yeah, almost my winner. She's close.
And with her and with another person we're going to talk about, they weren't my winner. Because I don't know how much of it is well for her it was an improvement. She always had the in-ring skill, but now she's found that character that is such a pardon the pun, dynamite character, that she's my favorite part of AEW right now, and I'm not exaggerating. She is my favorite part of AEW, and it's not very close.
Yeah, she's killing it. Absolutely killing it.
But speaking of sorry,
who do you got?
Speaking of women AEW, I think this is more like just finding themselves, rounding into a more total package. Julia Hart.
That's my Julia
Hart's had an incredible year. She's my number.
That's
two.
My number one.
Number two.
Okay.
And I see it in the chat here, and this is somebody where I don't think he improved. I think people finally recognize what he can do and put him in a position to do it. Is LA Knight. Yeah. My number one. If you were to take me back to like 2004, 2005, and you were to say how great that dopey little blonde kid they're having that ladder match over is going to be, it's got to be Dom. We had Prison Dom. We have Dom now. It's got to be Dominic Mysterio. He's getting better in the ring. He had 100 matches this year. Every time. And he's in there with great guys. He's in there with Damian Priest is great. Finn Balor.
And everybody wants to work him. Punk wants to work him. That's his first match.
Yeah,
Punk.
Yeah, he's wrestling Punk in New York. It's gotta be Dom. Any other year, Toni Storm or Julia Hart would have been my pick, but it's Dom. It's gotta be Dom for me. Every time I see him, I'm entertained.
Yeah, and he's the biggest true heel in professional wrestling.
I think no.
Dude, the crowd goes bananas when they boo him.
But they love to hate him. He's a guy you love to hate. And that's what MJF was too, and that's fine. That's what most heels are now. You know who's a true heel or has been for a long time? Baron Corbin. That's a heel. Everybody just genuinely just doesn't like the guy. And that's fine. He does his job really well. But Dom is because it wasn't that long ago. It's oh, what is he doing here? If Ray wasn't his dad, he wouldn't be around. Now it's oh, Dom's on. Yeah, I gotta pay attention. Dom
is in the same category as I think how people talk about Charlotte, where they talk nepotism, and if it wasn't for their dad, they wouldn't be there. But at the end of the day, you got to be good at what you do. And Dom has shown. Yes, my dad is Rey Mysterio. Yes, I am a Mysterio. But I'm working my ass off to get good here. I'm working in the ring. I am doing a character. I'm winning the hearts of people. It has no effect. Yes, it helped me get here. Yes, it helped me get the contract. But now that I got the contract, I'm working really, really hard. And that's what he's doing.
And this was the year that he found himself.
Yes.
This was the year. He's not Ray's kid anymore. I mean, he is. He always will be because Ray is one of the all-time greats. But he's his own guy now.
He's at a point now where if he is the one to end his dad, it means something. Because if he would have did it 2 years ago, nobody would have cared.
And he's also a guy that you can tell if they ever want to go this way, and at some time they probably will. He's going to be a super babyface.
Oh, if they turn him babyface, he will be the biggest babyface in the company.
Mm-hmm.
I have one just an honorable mention, and the reason I'm going to put her out is because we dogged her a couple of years ago in maybe last year in the TT Awards. She was not good. She's very athletic. She's very strong. And now with that brand of NXT where Sean has not given up on that roster and he's really working with that roster and making that roster good and letting these characters be found and let them find their in-ring and their abilities. Lash Legend got good. She got way better. Dude, she's like the Bianca Belair of NXT.
Interesting. See, mine and I wouldn't have had her as a serious consideration because I thought that potential was always there, and she was starting to really round into it in 2022. But Tiffany Stratton's ready to go. Tiffany Stratton's ready to be.
Stratton and Fallon Henley are really good. They're like Mickie James and Trish Stratus status.
With Stratton, I don't catch a lot of NXT, but I did watch the takeover where she wrestled Becky, and that hardcore match was very impressive because the only time she looked a little out of place was during the Gaga stuff. The wrestling stuff, she was right there with it.
She did a swanton off the penalty box, and her body control was beautiful. It was gorgeous. Yeah, so good.
That's where she came from. She came from gymnastics.
Yeah, she's really, really good. All right.
So who's the winner there? Is it going to be Dom? Is it going to be
Dom was my
Julia
number
Hart?
2, but Dom, then Julia Hart, and then Toni Storm. Yeah. Unfortunately, BP, we can't win our own award, right? So even though the chat is going to chant our name, and they're going to say best commentary of the year, is no doubt it's ABJ and BP at the Sanctuary, because we were clearly better than you and know it, baby. We're the real brochachos of this industry. You know what I mean? And we are clearly the best commentary. Challenge us. Book us against you. We'll go head to head with any commentary team. You sit at one table, we'll sit at the other, and we'll fight with our mouths.
Dueling commentary, yes. This is a great idea.
Dueling comment. We'll take anybody on. I'm looking at you, Kevin Kelly. I'm looking at you. Sit next to me.
This is like when, speaking of, no, it was actually Michael Cole, I believe, or maybe it was Kevin Kelly. But they did a thing when JR, and it was an awful angle, when JR had to take leave in like 1999 for having Bell's palsy really bad. And they came back, they brought him in as a heel with Dr. Death Steve Williams for a little bit. And like every other JR heel turn, was like, people love JR. I don't want to boo him.
Yeah, why are we making a deal?
So with one of the things they did is they set up a commentary table with JR in front of the regular commentary team and said like JR is Raw. And so yeah, we could do that. We should just invade indie shows and just do commentary for the crowd.
Yeah.
That's going to be our gimmick in 24.
Yeah, we're going to invade the commentary invasion angle. I can bring my own equipment. We could record it. You know what I mean? We'll just we're here. Sorry.
People would always there's a hidden underbelly of professional wrestling known as the custom match. We could do custom commentary.
Custom commentary.
Yeah.
Oh, he's really grunting. If you know, you know.
I think we've found a new cottage industry.
I actually made a joke that we should go on the hub and commentate those.
There we go.
And then make them like Patreon exclusive.
Right on.
Could you imagine commentating adult matches?
Yeah. Some of the acting on those NXT,
driver.
Some of the acting on those NXT skits is worse than that, but I digress.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start off with I'll start off with my my number, my not my winner, but going from back to top to bottom. Shivani every year. Good. Even though I do think Shivani has turned it down a little bit. Yeah, and it's part of it is he's become more I'm gonna the one guy with a tennis racket that does a podcast. He kind of really put it succinctly. He's become David Crockett. And if you didn't watch like old pre-WCW NWA wrestling, you don't know. David Crockett was the guy who would just generate a lot of excitement, but he wasn't really saying a whole lot. But I mean, it's Tony Schiavone. He's one of the best to ever do it. I think when he tries to generate excitement, because he phones it in most of the show, it doesn't have the same effect.
Yeah.
Like, he's not on my list, but I think Taz, I mean, probably should have been if I'm going to say this, but I thought Taz was better than Tony Schiavone this year.
I think Taz has been the best commentator in AEW this year.
Really?
I like Excalibur. I think Taz has been a little better.
Excalibur is my number 2. I just really like Excalibur, but I thought Excalibur and Taz are a better 1-2 team than having a third seat.
And I just brought in the chat another guy who definitely deserves a lot of credit is Ian Riccaboni. I love
that's Ian my number Riccaboni. 1. Yeah, Ian Riccaboni is my number 1.
I like Tom Hannafin in Impact. I think Tom is really good. WWE's commentary has been pretty. I'm not the hugest Kevin Patrick fan, but Cole is always reliable.
Cole's good. Corey Graves, I think is fine.
I love Corey Graves. But yeah, Ian Riccaboni, I think, is my
Nigel's pretty good too. Nigel McGuinness
just needs to modulate the volume a little bit.
Yeah. There's only one commentary person that I just can't listen to, and is I can't do Booker T and NXT.
Oh my goodness,
it's terrible. Hey, everybody's like, oh my god, just fucking clear your throat. Like it's like I love Steve-O, but do you ever try to listen to the Steve-O podcast?
No, I have not.
It's a tough. Your ears are like, can this guy clear his throat?
I do like
his voice. It's not his fault that it's his voice, though. You know.
I do like Vic Joseph. I do like Booker. I liked Booker when he was on SmackDown, just because he would say the stupidest stuff.
NXT Level Up has our boy Blake on it. He's good.
Oh yeah, there you go. And if we're going to talk about commentators, I think we're contractually obligated to mention Pete DeLong.
Yeah, Pete DeLong on the independent scene. I know we're not talking independent, but we said we'll sneak some in and there, but
yeah,
Pete DeLong 100% is the GOAT of independent wrestling. He's your best commentator on that scene. But I think we're both in agreement it's Ian this year for mainstream.
Ian Riccaboni for sure.
Yeah, no question, no doubt about it. He just has a good voice.
He does.
And he's not even trying. That's like this. He just has a great voice.
When people tell me I have a good voice, I'm like, no, I don't. And then I listen to a guy like Gamer Body, like that's what that's supposed to sound like.
Yeah. Totally agree. All right. Here's where the gloves come off. The next couple awards, there's when things get a little choppy. All right. And we're going to start off right away. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
The promotion of the year. Now, we have been saying the entire time promotion, we're sticking with more mainstream. So unfortunately, MLW, GCW, those are out of the question. I mean, GCW is as close as you can get to probably being a mainstream, but
it wouldn't change my pick.
Yeah.
I do want to throw a bone to Stardom. I just haven't watched enough of it. But if that's your thing, Stardom has that thing. I would always say this about guys like CM Punk and Jeff Hardy, where they might not have the level of fame as like a John Cena or a Hulk Hogan or a Steve Austin like that, but there is an inordinate amount of people whose favorite wrestler is CM Punk or Jeff Hardy. Like the people who love those guys.
Yep.
And with Stardom, their fan base, like the people that are drawn to that product, it is they deliver for their fans probably better than any promotion.
Yeah.
But and here's where the gloves are probably going to come off. I think it's a pretty clear cut number one this year. I think WWE has had one of their better years in recent memory.
Yikes.
It's got to be WWE for me.
I say AEW, but what about WWE right now has you on that tier?
They have so many guys that are believable top tier guys. They haven't had this level of depth. They haven't had this level of depth in their roster, especially on the babyface side of things. Like there are about 10 guys who could be viable world champions in WWE. AEW, if you're talking about guys who could be viable world champions after MJF and maybe like a Swerve, that list starts to taper off real quick.
Orange Cassidy will be a world champion. Anyway, here's where I'll agree with you, and I will concede and say WWE is, even though I think NXT has been better than Raw and SmackDown. I am Punk in WWE changes the landscape for me. It makes it exciting, makes me want to watch WWE more. Also, is I know it's coming, and I keep telling WWE fans it's coming and it's coming soon. The more I'm watching, I don't think Endeavor is getting involved in the way I thought they were going to get involved. We'll see when contracts come up and what they start paying roster members and if pay is going to be affected, because Endeavor is notoriously not great for paying their fighters. So we'll see how they work out renegotiation contracts when it comes to professional wrestlers. They haven't gone too crazy over the top when it comes to sponsorships all over the place. They do them, but not as excessive as I thought they were going to. But WWE, I will say, has me more excited going into 2024, because I think after Mania is when we get that full reset, and Triple H is done with Vince's stories and is done and gives Vince his respect to finish out his storylines. And then I think a new regime and a new storytelling and a new way of booking is done. And I think in 2024, after Mania, we officially get the Triple H version of WWE. And I think that's exciting. And I think he's showing us that a little bits and pieces of that in 2023. And that's where I will concede and say WWE is the winner this year. But Mania Night 2, you can clearly, it's been told, Vince walked in, ripped up the script and said, do this. And it didn't work. And Night 1 was Tripp. So we're seeing that Tripp can do this. And it has gotten better since then. But he's still paying respect. And some of the storylines are holding up the company. But I will, and then people like NXT Black and Gold, that was Tripp booking, and it was good. If we can get NXT Black and Gold on the main roster and do that style of booking again, it's only looking up. So I will say I will agree with you. I'll say WWE for promotion of the year.
Yeah, and it's all going to come down to what your flavor of wrestling is, and I thought they did a great job. If maybe the booking decisions as far as like winners, losers, champions, maybe that wasn't perfect, but they did a great job just building up a lot of depth. And part of that is just that Roman wasn't around, so they had to.
Yeah.
It was the effect of Roman being that absentee champion that you did have to have an LA Knight emerge. You did have to have a Randy Orton's back, and Randy Orton is hot again.
Yeah. I will say this: the one thing that I do like about the AEW is there is no Young Bucks, there's no Kenny, there's no like these bigger names, and younger guys are stepping up and taking over that company. And I think that's what has me excited the most about AEW. Like, I like watching the progression of Swerve. I love watching the Adam Cole, even though before he got hurt. I loved watching MJF tear apart that company. Like, there's a lot about AEW that gets me really, really excited. It's my promotion and pick of the year, but we do have to pick a winner and we have to agree. So I'll take the back seat on this one. No, we have a clear winner, and I'm with you on this. I agree, but that's the reason why I agree with WB is because how they ended the year and how I'm excited for it after Mania.
Yeah. Right. And I have a lot of hope that AEW maybe kind of rights the ship a little bit. But okay, where are we going next?
The next one is going to be show of the year. I'll start off, and I'm not even going backwards. Tell me why I'm biased because I was there. Tell me why it's not all in Wembley.
From an outsider perspective, I thought it dragged in the middle.
Okay. What match?
I don't remember the matches.
The women's match was rough because they had Saraya.
I think it suffered from the same malaise that almost every AEW pay-per-view suffers through.
I went to the bathroom for the Kenny Bucks versus Bullet Club Gold, and I loved Bullet Club Gold, but I just didn't care.
The show is too damn long. The show is too damn long.
I also got really high in the middle of that show.
That helps. I feel like if I were to unseat Phil Stamper as the president of wrestling, if I were to be the dictator of wrestling, I would say if your show is going to be longer than 3 hours long, I need it in writing in triplicate why you have to go that goddamn long.
Okay.
Less is more. I've never seen a 4+ hour wrestling show that didn't burn me out at some point.
But man, it picked me back up for that main event. Oh, that main event was gorgeous.
I was just drained. It was a good match, good storyline. I was just like, and it's kind of the same thing of like, it did before the Cole injury. It did almost get into that, well, we know what's going to happen type thing. And that one we did, there was that certainty, will Cole turn, will he not turn? But it was the same thing as like, we know there's going to be that moment where they have to decide if they want to screw one another, just like we know there's that moment Solo Sikoa is going to run in. Yeah. It did get a little paint by numbers after a while.
Dude, I love how paint by numbers they make it, and the crowd still eats it up. It's fun as a smart wrestling fan to see like people.
They love MJF, they love Cole. Yeah, you can get away with a lot of people love your talent.
MJF can walk down to the ring and go, I'm going to do the A, B, and C. Tell the whole crowd what he's going to do, and then when he starts to do it, they fucking eat it up.
You got to beat it out of the palm of his hands. It's great. I mean, I'm fine. The compromise has been going my way. I'm fine if that's the pick. It's so funny because the last hour was bad, but up until that moment, WrestleMania was firing on.
So
like
I have it separated.
So good.
Night one I have as my number 2 for match show of the year.
I'm good with that, but like night 2 had probably my favorite match at WrestleMania, or my second favorite match. But I think the compromise goes your way this time. We can give this one all in one.
I also have AEW Revolution.
I don't think I saw it.
That one was I believe that was that was MJF and Danielson, right? Danielson in the Iron Man match.
I hate Iron Man matches.
That one was really good, though.
I hate Iron Man matches. An Iron Man match is basically saying, here's an hour match, you only have to pay attention to the last 3 minutes.
And we also got the Guns, the Acclaimed, Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, and Orange Cassidy and Danhausen in the 4-way tag team championship. We got Wardlow versus Samoa Joe, Hangman versus Jon Moxley, Hayter versus Saraya, House of Black versus the Elite, Ricky Starks versus Jericho, and Mark Briscoe and the Lucho Brothers versus the Varsity Athletes. Josh Woods, Tony Nese.
Yeah. I guess it didn't stand out to me. Again, I don't think I watched it, so that's probably why it didn't stand out to me. I think the only AEW pay-per-views I've watched this year were Forbidden Door, which I actually enjoyed quite a bit.
That was a good show too.
And the one where Edge showed up.
Was that All Out?
Wrestle Dream.
All right. I think our only agreement here is WrestleMania Night 1.
I'll concede the all in.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
All right. All in. Yeah, I have a scarf. Anyway. And a hat. And a hat that I stole my pin back on, by the way.
It's always special when you're there too, especially a show like that, like a stadium show, another country. That's a special one.
Well, listen, we're gonna do match of the year now, and I'm gonna tell you right now, that main event, being there live, watching my favorite wrestler take on my second favorite wrestler, and the story they told, and how the crowd was so invested in it, and just hearing the reaction, that's super hard for me.
I forget what it was right now. But there was something in that finish that made me go, "This is stupid," and I don't remember what it is off. I'm just like, "This is stupid."
They wanted MJF to hit Adam Cole. They wanted Adam Cole to hit MJF. Like, they kept trying to screw the other person. And when it came down to, is he going to use a title on him? He didn't. And then MJF hit him with the finisher.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I've been trying to do this all the whole time, but now I guess, okay, you had to change your heart. But
yeah.
I couldn't remember what it was, but I remember it was just because I haven't seen the matches that happened. But there's just that one thing. It was like, this is dumb. This is just dumb.
Yeah.
And you know who
I liked it though.
You know who never does dumb things in their matches? Gunther. So one of my picks is going to be Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania Night 2.
Dude, Gunther and The Miz was a banger when it was on pay-per-view and the TV mode.
We'll talk about Gunther in a little bit.
Yeah, I think he's really good, but I still don't think he is someone that can carry a world championship in the WWE landscape.
Oh, I disagree.
I don't think he makes you money as champion.
Heel champion doesn't have to make you money. Heel champion is just the foil.
I agree with that. I think he's a good foil champion, but I don't think he's someone that holds a title for a year.
No. No.
He's a good. I'm going to hold her for a couple months, and then I'm going to put over a giant baby face.
Especially, that's never been the way WWE's handled their business, and people
until Roman,
until now, actually until Triple H. Triple H was the first heel to win the main event of WrestleMania, like to walk out of WrestleMania as the champion.
Yeah,
and it was WrestleMania 16. But with that match is just brutal. I love the Gunther and Chad Gable match. It was so emotional, so real. Like Gable's kids crying in the front row. So those there's a bunch of Gunther matches for me. We already kind of talked about it, but I have a super soft spot for. It's a blind spot. Bryan Danielson can do no wrong in my eyes. And I think my favorite Bryan Danielson match of the year was it was after the whole Punk thing. It was after Brawl Out or Brawl In this case. It was after the Tony Khan was afraid for his life. I think it was at All Out. The strap match with Bryan Danielson and Ricky Starks.
That was good.
That is probably
my number 2 is MJF Danielson Iron Man.
I don't like Iron Man matches.
Yeah, I thought that Iron Man match was done very well because there was more than one fall.
Would I miss a lot of the story of the match if I only watched the last 5 minutes?
So it went up 2-0 with a pin and disqualification. And then MJF went 3 falls with and then it went Danielson went up 1 and then MJF went up.
But it was
1.
super close at the end, so I could really just watch the last 3 minutes of it.
Yeah, but it's Danielson. They told a good story. Like I don't know. Yeah. This one just entered the chat, and I thought they were fine, but Omega Ospreay match in Japan and at Forbidden Door. I don't like wrestling where you have to hit somebody with a rocket launcher to win.
Yeah.
When you kill somebody with something that should hospitalize or kill somebody, and they kick out, and then like the spot where they kip up and they're just like, ah, you're like, you just got smacked in your face with a hammer.
Ospreay and Omega Ospreay and Omega is a great match if you like kickouts and you hate selling.
Yeah, they don't do it for me. That style of wrestling does not sell the ticket. And I know that's where everyone, because Meltzer tells you that's the best, but those style matches do not win. Like, I like a match where the crowd is fucking invested because, like I said, the Adam Cole MJF, the crowd was like, no, don't do it. Like, that to me is pro wrestling.
I've always called them New Japan kickout matches. I think I'm just gonna start calling them Meltzer matches. Like,
like honestly, when people watch a horror movie or watch a soap opera and they overact and they yell at the screen, that's the matches in wrestling I like. I like the ones where like the crowd is into it. Like, they're like, don't like when people start chanting don't tap and stuff like that, because the crowds, they're into it because not they just did a 450 or they kicked out of a finisher for the 15th time. Like, those matches don't do it for me.
Yeah, and I get where they come from, and they were it's great if you do it sparingly. It's great if you do it like it's that and it is something where it's a little more ingrained in Japanese wrestling because of the whole concept of like fighting spirit and just willing it up from the inside. But my two that I'm kind of settled on as far as my top two picks are both tag team matches, and they're both back to that Sammy versus the Bloodline thing. My number two is going to be the one we talked about earlier, Sammy and Kevin Owens against Roman and Solo. But I think my match of the year is Kevin and Sammy against the Usos, main event in night one of WrestleMania.
I'm with it.
Storytelling. And just that moment. And maybe this is me just being an indie wrestling fan from the early 2000s, but Kevin Steen and El Generico were in the main event of WrestleMania, and they won, and that was very special to me.
And they won. They main evented as a tag team.
Yeah, with their PWG.
I agree. I'm with you, Kevin and Sammy. And I know you hate the term and you don't care about it, but I was cool with that because that made Kevin a Grand Slam.
Yeah, no, so.
I love that.
I'm with like that kind of stuff.
When it's my favorite wrestler, I like it. I'll show my bias. All right. The best group, faction, stable, or trio.
Oh, an easy one for me. There's only really two that I even liked. And again, this is just me, like mainly just watching a lot of AEW and WWE and not much else. But it was a 2-horse race for me, and there was a clear winner. But I'll let you.
I mean, it's easy. I think everyone's expecting Judgment Day or Bloodline to be the pick here. To me, I think they got stale. Judgment Day for me is cool because every single member of Judgment Day I like.
Judgment Day is my pick, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I will probably fall on the Judgment Day. I threw in House of Black just because I think they're entertaining. But for me, and they only became a stale / trio. But they're like kind of like two guys and a manager, but now they're tag team champs. The Acclaimed.
I think the Acclaimed cooled off a lot this year. Like, when was the last time you saw them? I know they're doing an injury angle.
Well, they were doing the thing with where they were trying to recruit MJF when he needed a partner.
Oh, they're always fun. I love them.
Then the Devil attacked them, but
the Acclaim's great. I thought they had a better 2022 than a 2023.
Oh, Bullet Club Gold is good too. They made me care about Juice Robinson. And the Guns, dude, the Guns had a great 2023.
The Guns are somebody I meant to bring up in Most Improved, and I forgot.
Yeah,
and they should have been high up there. They've got it. They showed.
Jay White's so good, dude. All right. So I'll do this. I'll toss the Acclaimed. Bullet Club Gold versus Judgment Day.
It's Judgment Day all day for me.
All right, fuck it. Judgment Day wins. Mommy's always on top.
And that's another thing. Like, it's a, and they always joke like, "Oh, Damien says I'm the leader." Everybody says they're the leader. Everybody knows where he's the damn leader.
Yeah, Mommy's on top.
And it's a woman that's a leader of a major stable, and people are like, "Well, yeah, of course she is.
Of course she's this fucking leader. Are you crazy?
That's awesome. That's awesome."
You're right. Judgment Day is sick.
All right. Are they a smidge overexposed? Yes, but
and dude, the whole R-Truth thing right now, where they're just inserting the Sammy's bloodline thing into Judgment Day.
Oh, the R-Truth stuff
is
good. Incredible.
It's good.
It's incredible.
Of course, you're not kicked out of the Judgment Day. R-Truth doesn't make the calls here.
So good.
Did you see the photo R-Truth just posted today?
I did not, but
it's the classic photo of the NWO. And R-Truth with his NWO shirt in the group photo, like he was part of them.
The one thing I was a little disappointed with that match with JD McDonough is the announcers just completely no-selled R-Truth doing John Cena spots.
Yeah.
Because it's his boyhood hero that he's older than.
Yeah. Here's a question. Everyone talks about who should be like a future champ, a world, IC champ, or this champ. I think before his career is done, they got to put an actual championship on R-Truth and let him rock with it for a couple months.
He's been the U.S. champion before.
But now, like after he's done all of his work and he's getting close to his end, like honestly, I think it'd be hilarious if he's the one that dethroned Gunther.
No,
because R-Truth can work. He's a good worker.
He's good. He's also like 50.
It doesn't matter. He's probably he's still probably better in the ring.
I don't think the comedy guys need titles. I understand they can go.
Orange Cassidy needs to be a world champion.
He's been more serious this year than ever before.
Yeah, he has turned it on. Did you see the promo he just cut this week though?
I caught a bit of it, yeah.
Rock Romero's like, I just lost my championship and I would love to have gold and travel the world. He goes, fine, next week. And he walks away.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, it's great. No,
I love Orange Cassidy.
Yeah, for sure.
Biggest heel in professional wrestling.
Is it Dom? Is it Dom?
Dom.
No,
I'm with it.
Christian Cage or Dom?
Christian's my number 2. Dom's my number 1. Roman's my number 3.
I'll leave this one up to you. I think it's either Christian or Dom, and I might lean Christian, but if you feel strong one or the other, that's the pick.
Shit.
Because I think Christian's a little more like people. I mean, they all get it, like they all are in on the joke, but because we're in a post kayfabe world. But I think.
Did you see the trailer of the photo of the Von Erichs will be on Dynamite? Yeah, speaking of Christian Cage, like.
Yeah. Again, he's got
Tony Khan for firing Punk. Is Tony Khan the biggest heel?
He was afraid for his life.
He was afraid for his life. It's Dom's our first 2-time winner. Dom's winner.
No complaints here.
Now here's the thing. This is where it gets a little choppy.
All right.
Babyface of the year.
And why is it Cody Rhodes?
Cody's my number 4.
Okay. All right.
My number 1.
3. All right.
My number 1. Well, I'll go backwards. My number 3 is Orange Cassidy.
Very good babyface, yes.
My number 2 is MJF, which is crazy that we're calling MJF a babyface in 2023.
I'm always a little reluctant because he's so much better as a heel. Like I thought it would go better.
He's Piper. He's Piper. Whatever role you put him in, he can get it done.
But they're not. I think he's getting it done a little better as a babyface.
Number 1. And I think it's a clear winner. Sammy.
Yeah. Again, going back to the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Nobody had that kind of momentum. That's a good call. That's a good
Sammy.
call.
I think Sammy was your clear guy that like sold t-shirts, did the whole 9, did comedy, but then turned his comedy into serious and actually made you feel emotion.
Yeah.
I will say
that's a good call. That's a good call.
Yeah. But it's fun to say that MJF is in the running for babyface of the year. That's a fun.
It reminds me of the old days, like PWI. They would do their year-end awards. And there was one year, like 93, I think, where Jerry Lawler was like most hated. That was like their heel of the year.
Yeah.
And then he finished second for most popular. Or
Steven Chambers says LA Knight is babyface.
LA Knight was where LA Knight would probably be.
I will say this. LA Knight had a smidge. Here's where I will say LA Knight. I don't give the LA Knight like that. I know he's a top merch seller. LA Knight's run is this. Sami Zayn carried a story where people were like legitimately like, yo, Sammy's beating Roman. LA Knight got popular and everyone's like, there's no chance this is actually happening. Like, there's no chance LA Knight's beating this guy. You know what I mean? That's why I don't think people really clamored that LA Knight was going to be the guy to beat Roman Reigns. I think he's entertaining. I think people like to say his catchphrase because it's easy and they can spell it because they're wrestling fans. Heel Tony's out. You like that? But it's I don't think he's Sammy level or MJF level.
I think he's got the potential to be. I think he's the guy.
I do too. Yeah.
He's got more star potential than Sammy, even though Sammy is the guy. Sammy's Bryan Daniels is in that Bryan Danielson mold, or that like we're talking about Mick Foley, like the guy just people genuinely like. LA Knight's got that Cena potential. LA Knight's got that kind of Rock Steve Austin potential if you do it right. The problem LA Knight's running into is ever since he lost to Roman, some air has come out of that balloon a little bit.
This next one is going to be a bigger list for me.
All right.
And we're getting an hour 20, so we got to
speed round.
We don't have to speed it up. We'll just have some fun here. Best on the mic / promo.
It's a 2-horse race, I think.
See, I don't know. I think there's a lot here.
All right.
Obviously, when you think best on the mic, the two people that come to your mind in professional wrestling right now is CM Punk and MJF.
Correct.
Right? That's your 2-horse race. But I think Adam Cole during his promo battles with MJF sold a good promo. That Adam Cole brought it to the table enough on a mic level that made people care about him and MJF to a point where it carried a story.
Yeah.
Christian Cage killed some great promos this year.
Christian would probably be number 3 for me.
And then on the WWE side, I mean, this guy broke Nick Aldis his first week in the company. Kevin Owens. Did you see that promo?
Yeah, Kevin
with the brain with the eye. He goes, look at this idiot. I want to make him look like that little brain. Like Kevin Owens never disappoints in a backstage promo. And Sami Zayn's promos in backstage was the reason people watched WWE Weekly for the Bloodline thing.
I think a lot of the stuff that really got Sami over was in 2022, though.
Yeah, probably. No, you're right. You're right. So it's a 2-horse race. MJF. It's 2-horse race. MJF, CM Punk.
I think
people tune in each week to see both them talking to microphones.
Yeah. I would be more likely to give a nod to MJF just because he was around more.
Okay.
Where Ricky Starks can go on the mic too. Yes, Ricky Starks is
very good as well. I agree.
Ricky Starks is the guy who kind of bested MJF one-on-one. Yeah. If you remember,
dude, Ricky Starks, without even trying, destroyed Jericho and Kenny.
Yeah,
great promo, idiots, and walked away. Like they sucked that promo. That promo was great name. I hope that makes a T-shirt. Like he's just like
you talked about
Ricky Starks will be in WWE.
You talked about MJF having some bad luck. Ricky Starks would have been in the discussion for feud of the year with Punk, and then brawl.
If Timeless Tony Storm has done more commentary than 2 nights, I would have put her for commentary of the year. Dude, those close-ups I kills me every time.
She's phenomenal. It's more about her mannerisms and her just really inhabiting that character than like the mic work. But the mic work is good too.
Yeah.
Ricky Starks is up there, but I'm gonna give a nod to MJF just because how many promos has Punk done this year? Like 5.
Yeah, I agree. MJF.
They're all good except for the one on Raw, but yeah.
Tag team of the year.
Remember tag teams?
This is a rough year for tag teams towards the end. Yeah, the end of the year was tough for tag teams. I got 3.
Kevin and Sami is the first one that jumps to mind for me.
They weren't on my list, but you made a point for them in a lot of these other categories, so they'll probably be there. Cole, MJF.
Yeah, they're
FTR
perennially on the list.
But who did FTR probably had the best feud with in 2023?
The Bucks, like
the Briscoes.
Guns. 2020. The Brit.
Didn't they do? Wasn't the Briscoe
22?
Was that 22?
Jay died in January, I think, or February.
I could have sworn that was.
I think it was Final Battle. I think their blow off was Final Battle.
I could have sworn that was 20. He did die January 23. You're right. So Briscoes are out. My bad. Yeah, FTR.
FTR is always going to be up there.
Yeah.
Again, they were in.
But wait a second. Before we get crazy here and just say FTR, Cole and Adam Cole and MJF.
They're good.
Killed it.
They did. They did a great job in pre-show matches.
Ooh.
What are they called? ABC?
ABC.
Yeah.
I don't hate that either. I don't hate that.
I kind of have to, if they're in 2 of my top 5 matches, even irrespective of being a tag team or not, I gotta kind of pound the table a little bit for Kevin and Sami. It did taper off, and the match where they lost the titles to Judgment Day was really good too, even though they were wearing Penguins jerseys and turned heel. They would be my pick, but
Cole. All right, so we're between Cole and MJF and Sammy and Kevin.
Yeah,
and I love all four of these guys. Tiebreaker, Lily.
I'm gonna go with the obvious. So sorry, I'm gonna go with the obvious one here. Yeah, MJF and Adam Cole.
Better Than You, baby. Yeah. Tag Team of the Year. All right. Appreciate that. I don't hate Sammy and Kevin at all. Men's competing. So we're not gonna put titles on anybody or anything like that because some people are non-binary, but they compete in a women's division or a men's division. That's just the world of wrestling we live in right now. So men's competing wrestler of the year. Now, we have a little bit of disparity on how we're doing this. So we have
I'm coming around. I think we're going to do it the same way.
Men's competing, women's competing, and overall. So I think wrestler of the year is someone who just goes out there and has matches. Like match quality is through the roof. Overall is you're an overall package. Like you are out there and you're just a monster. You know what I mean? Yeah. I had to add someone to my overall list that I didn't put, and that's super disrespectful. So wrestler of the year, men competing. I want to throw my number 3 out there, and I maybe this disqualifies him a little bit because we are talking mainstream. Speedball Mike Bailey.
Yeah, I mean, Impact is pretty. Impact is the number 3 promotion in.
Yeah, but the people just. I mean, he had the Ospreay match, but at the end of the day, Ospreay is the reason people tuned in because Ospreay is Ospreay.
Yeah,
and help Mike Bailey get on that list because of it. But if you watch and you're an independent wrestling fan, Mike Bailey is everywhere and he's killing it. And he's killing it everywhere he goes. Also on my list, Ospreay is there. And then my number 3 when it comes to just work rate, where this guy's everywhere and he's killing it and he's all over the place and just doesn't stop, even though when he's supposed to be on vacation and the locker room explodes and he comes back to save the locker room. It's hard not to say Jon Moxley.
Yeah, if you're into that kind of thing. Sure. And when you're talking about like match quality and things like that, it's always going to be very subjective. It's always going to be very much flavored by your flavor of wrestling and what you like. So my taste might be a little more toward the mat and grappling side of things. So I am always going to throw a bone to the perennial wrestler of the year, the wrestler of his generation, one of maybe the greatest of all time. I always got to throw that Bryan Danielson bone out there. And like a guy
spent like a lot of this year hurt though.
This was a lot of every year hurt. And yeah, that's why he's not going to be my number 1. But again, he was in one of your matches of the year, and I had a match that was completely separate. I liked his match with Okada, even though people. I think that match, the expectations were so high that anything.
I don't think Danielson was the problem in that match at all.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, Danielson. He's great.
Also, moment of the year for me, a dark horse for that would have been that match at the beginning of Bryan Danielson coming out to the final countdown. Where if you're an old school Ring of Honor fan, if you're an old school Ring of Honor fan, that was special.
Yeah,
that was special. But for me, and again, this is going to really say more about the type of wrestling I enjoy, I think, than anything.
I just want to say real quick, kind of go back to moment of the year. And I feel bad that we did this as 2 white dudes sitting in a room. But Bad Bunny at Backlash.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big moment, even though we have no idea any of the lyrics of those songs. That's not our type of music.
Backlash, I should have mentioned more for show of the year. That was
Backlash was really good. It was said in the chat. Kai said it. Backlash was a fantastic show. It should have been
between Bad Bunny and Logan Paul. I mean, those are 2 top tier non-wrestlers who wrestle and are good at it and get it. Bad Bunny.
I kind of like what they're doing with Logan Paul too, where he does the promos on the screen, talking shit about everybody. It's good. It's good.
And I think you're going to see him in LA Knight at WrestleMania. That's a prediction from me.
Yeah.
But my guy is Seth Rollins. We should throw a bone to. Seth Rollins has been consistently pretty good all year. But for me, again, my flavor of wrestling, 2 of my maybe 5 or 6 favorite matches of the year. It's Gunther for me. It's Gunther.
Gunther
is my Work rate wrestler of the year, men's division. But I'm open to other ideas.
I have Gunther in my overall, so
Okay.
I will put him to men's of the year. Gunther wins.
I understand what everybody said. For me, and he's not the same build, but he's got that Vader vibe of this is just a guy who's going to come in and beat somebody's ass, and you take him seriously as a threat.
Women's competing of the year. My number 3, I have Becky.
Yeah.
Oh, shouldn't she be in the men's?
She is the man, but she's in. Number 2, strictly on her on camera stuff because she didn't have a lot of matches to talk about because she's killing everybody and they're just booking her that way. But Rhea.
Yeah.
But number 1, and it's super cool. I'm even saying this name because this is a name that at one point in time was going to be retired, then was fired, then was brought in. Unfortunately, she's working for a company that doesn't get seen a lot, but I think women's wrestler of the year is Athena.
Yeah, I wish I saw more of her. If we're talking work rate, I'm good with that. Yeah, I'm good with that. And I don't know enough about Stardom. I don't know enough about Stardom.
Unfortunately,
I got to plead ignorance on it.
Yeah, we're definitely Stardom. We will work on for 2024. Another name that I could throw out there, and I wasn't trying to be biased and say it just because we've worked with her and she's super nice and we would consider ourselves friends with her. Willow.
Yeah.
Owen Hart Cup this year. Beat Mercedes Moné, unfortunately, because of an injury, but still went out. Her and Athena had the first ever women's match main event in ROH pay-per-view. Probably one of the best women's matches ever done. Like, it was that good. It's talked about as one of the best women's matches ever done in the industry. And then also top 5, he's right, Masha Slamovich.
Yeah,
first woman to. But here's the thing: we can't really count GCW as mainstream because that's more independent. But the first woman to ever choke out Nick Gage cold and win the GCW World Championship as a woman. Tag team champions this year, had tons of titles to compete for.
And MK Ultra is a fun tag team.
Yeah,
fun tag team.
But the winner goes to Athena. Right?
Yeah.
We agree.
Yeah, for sure.
Overall wrestler of the year. I already took Gunther off my list.
Yeah.
Because we put him on the other one. So Seth is on my list.
He's up there.
Danielson is on my list.
Yeah. But again, I do agree with you got to be healthy.
Yeah. But my overall, I think when it comes to overall, when it talks about in-ring, storylines, promo, send them out to kiss babies and shake hands and be that spokesperson for your company and just overall dominate the industry of professional wrestling, man or woman, they, them, whatever your job is to take that role and be the overall best person in professional wrestling in 2023. He's better than you and he knows it. It's MJF. He's the overall package this year in 2023. He carried the company on his back. Yeah. He's transcending himself outside of wrestling. He's already done Hollywood, or even though all of his stuff got cut. But like he's there. He's there.
It's hard to argue with that one, and it's hard to imagine that company without him right now. If they didn't have MJF, they would be in trouble.
Yeah, when you think of an MVP in the team, is when your quarterback is not on the game, you lose the game. Like, that's your MVP of your team. MJF is the MVP of AEW.
The only person I got to throw a consideration, maybe it's my second place, is because I think she has really arrived this year, and she was my lights out pick for if it was like an overall women's division person of the year. But I definitely agree with, like, in the ring, Athena's been on another level, but Rhea Ripley has found herself this year and is a star. All that potential.
She's so good. They don't know who to put her against.
Yeah. All that potential that people thought Rhea Ripley had for all these years is finally coming together. She has made it all click this year.
Do you want to do overall, and we'll put MJF and Rhea Ripley in there and do a men and women?
If you want to split
I'm cool with that.
Yeah, MJF men's, Rhea Ripley women's, because they have in men's wrestling, women's wrestling, they have really stood head and shoulders above everybody else as a complete packages.
Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you guys. We were gonna try to get this done within an hour, but it's our first time back. We're excited. I think I just deleted a lot of people's TikTok, Twitter. I'm sorry. I have a problem when I'm going in StreamYard when I'm doing these scrollers. I delete ones I'm not supposed to. So sorry, Ben Frank Connection. Real quick, let's plug them real quick. The Ben Frank Connection, we're a partner with the Opinion City podcast. So the ABJ and the Ben Frank Connection was joining. Actually, ABJ and the Opinion City podcast are joining forces and created the Ben Frank Connection. People say, what's that for? Two of us are from Pennsylvania. One of them is from New Jersey. What brings us together? The Ben Franklin Bridge. That's the name. That's the reason for it. It's not just open to people in our North. Any podcaster can join our network if you're good enough. Sorry, I'm saying it. We're not just opening the door for anybody. If you're a fucking jabroni, hit the bricks, kid. But that's
go to the Commodore Barry Express.
Yeah. Go down to the next bridge. But
the next gonna be the Walt Whitman.
Yeah, Walt Whitman. Go down there. But anyway, thank you guys. We are back. Tornado Tag every Thursday, 8:45, 9 o'clock ish. We'll be here. If there's nights where we have to do it, we will let you know if we have to move it to a different day. But we are back. Very excited to do this. You can check out BP doing backstage and work at PPW as well as Sanctuary. And I'll let him plug his stuff as well. But I'm also just putting out there. You'll see us both at AXW Wrestling this Saturday at Hamburg Fieldhouse. All of my stuff and links are below if you want to support ABJ, t-shirt, merchandise, a whole nine. If you want to get your Tornado Tag t-shirt to support us, that's there as well. BP, anything else you want to plug it out? Let people know where you're at?
Yeah, currently on hiatus, but I still have, we have 170 plus episodes of Murder My Dude. You can find wherever you listen to your podcast. Spotify, I guess, is the one they really want you to push these days. But wherever you find your podcast, you can find Murder My Dude. We'll be back with new ones really soon. And like you said, we'll hopefully see some of you at Hamburg on Saturday. Hopefully see some of you in Slatington on January 13th with PPW. There's going to be some fun stuff there. And one of the things we're going to take pride on this next
I'm
show
off on the 13th.
There you go.
I might be there.
One of the things I take pride on this show is we just put out the poster today. There's no ex-WWE guys. There's no as seen on AEW. I mean, we have VSK, but VSK is a PPW guy too. Yeah. VSK is one of us. Wrecking Ball Legursky is an NWA guy, but he's one of us. It is a kind of breath of fresh air in PPW where these last year or so they have really
you're building your roster. You're telling story with your roster and not who comes in from the outside.
I mean, we do, and it's not like there's not people like Enzo was there last month, and we had Renee Michelle and the Rock and Roll Express were in over the summer, but they are the garnish to they're the accent, and it's a really fun locker room. It's a really talented group of men and women, and they're doing a great job.
And just announced to come to the show next and the 13th, also out right now on the podcast, Journey Burke.
Yeah,
go check out Journey Burke. Episode just dropped. Actually, it probably didn't. I don't know if I ever did it. Did not drop. It's gonna drop right after this. Sorry, guys. Samira is out right now, huh?
Samira dropped at 1 o'clock this morning.
It did on the audio side. It did not drop on the video side because I didn't make it public. But people got to watch the audio, listen to the audio on YouTube, so that's exciting. So that's out literally as soon as we hit end stream. Samira will be out. So if you want to go check out the latest episode of ABJ Podcast with Samira, it will be available right now. We'll see you guys then. We'll be back next Thursday. Check out the rest of the content. 5 questions with ABJ podcast, ABJ podcast, Murder My Dude. We're all here. We're doing cool things, and we're back, baby. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.